I brought in a huge deal. I'm talking about very close to being a nine-figure deal. This client trusted my ability to handle this deal for them.
This is Unlawful. Welcome to Unlawful. As always, I'm Brandon Rankin, and with me today is Shams Merchant. Now, I met Shams as a law student at U of H, but now, what do you do, Shams?
I'm a commercial real estate attorney, and yeah, like you said, you were my professor in law school, and we had some pretty awesome times. And I believe we were in pretrial litigation.
Pretrial litigation.
I think having a background and some knowledge about litigation is important no matter what kind of law you practice. Even on the transactional side, clients are still always asking for advice, and if you don't understand the nuances of litigation, you're going to have a hard time as a transactional lawyer. So your class was still very valuable, and I still use those strategies today in my commercial real estate practice. But yes, I'm a commercial real estate attorney. I do acquisitions, dispositions, leasing, financing, and development work for a wide array of asset classes: industrial, retail, office, you name it. I pretty much handle it if it involves commercial real estate transactional work. My firm also does a lot of securities and private equity work for sponsors and real estate private equity firms across the country as well. And we're pretty well known in that space too. I'm more of a pure commercial real estate attorney, what we like to call it, a dirt attorney. Is what I do. So that's mostly my practice.
And it's interesting because for this show, for Unlawful, we haven't had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people in your position, right? Who are early on in your career. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to reach out. And I want to jump into how you realized, okay, what I want to do is I want to be a commercial real estate attorney. The way I want to guide my career is I want to do what's authentic to me and what seems right to me, because I think it's really difficult for young lawyers to do that. So first, I commend you for doing it. And second of all, I want to try to weasel my way into your secret sauce so people can learn from you a little bit about how you did that.
I don't think it came as naturally as it might appear today. It was definitely a challenge and a process to get to be in a position today where I can be authentic and practice law in a way that makes me really happy. It definitely wasn't always like that. I think the difference for me was that I went to law school with the intention in mind to become a transactional commercial real estate attorney. I knew that's all I wanted to do. So for me, I've always had a love for the business side of real estate. My family has a real estate background. My dad's a real estate entrepreneur. A lot of my friends and their families are in the business. So I kind of grew up in it a little bit, and it was always an interest to me to be in real estate. And even undergrad, I worked at a commercial real estate brokerage firm. And if I didn't go to law school, I probably would have been a commercial real estate broker. I was always interested in real estate contracts, and I actually saw a lot of contracts before I even went to law school because my family was in the business. So I had a chance to be involved in that world already and see how an attorney advises their clients on the real estate transactional side and how important that job is. I already had that interest. I was piqued early on, and so it was kind of a natural decision for me to go to law school to become a real estate attorney.
One of the things you said to me when we were talking about it was you have kind of a unique perspective on that because you started with clients. I wanted to hear a little bit about that and about how that kind of has impacted your view on not only the profession, but your role and how you do the other stuff.
I think I got lucky in the beginning. I'll give you a short story. 6 months into my legal career, and I had a friend of a friend who was taking over the family business. It was a commercial real estate business, and his family owned retail properties, and they had this Fortune 200 tenant that was leasing space at one of their properties, and they breached the lease. They owed hundreds of thousands of dollars in rent to my friend's family. And so this person who was taking over the family business knew me. We grew up together. Friend of a friend.
Sure.
And he reached out and said, "Hey, I saw that you're a lawyer, that you practice real estate. I have this issue. Can you help me?" And at the time,
you said yes.
And I said yes. I had no idea what to do. I had no idea how to handle this case. I did not know. I knew the basics of what law school taught me, but I didn't know the practical aspects of how to get a litigation like this off the ground. Luckily, I did bring that case to the firm and the partners at the firm took on that case, and I got to be a part of that team to handle that case. And good news is we successfully resolved it we did go into litigation, but we did get a great settlement out of it. The client was very happy. It was a great success. And that was very early on in my career, just 6 months in. The cool part about it is I did get compensation. I got origination for bringing that piece in. And that was my first taste of what it means to bring in business and get compensated for that business. And once I had that small taste, I was hooked. I just fell in love with the idea of bringing in new clients, developing business, being able to get compensated not just to do great legal work, but also to bring in your own business and control your own kind of destiny. Instead of the firm feeding you clients, you're in control of the kind of clients you want to work for, like that client who ended up becoming a good friend of mine, and since then has sent me a lot of business.
Sure.
So that was my first taste at an early age, very early in my career, this notion that I have what it takes to develop business. And I think it's a lot of a kind of a confidence thing. I think sometimes for attorneys, it's like they're early on in their career and they're still learning how to practice law, so they think that they can't bring in business, or their firms might not encourage that anyways. And so they don't really try until they're at a stage where they're about to be a partner. And I think that's a mistake, because it's not just a switch that you turn on. There's a lot of practice involved.
What's your unlawful moment?
So my unlawful moment, it's related to exactly everything that we've been talking about. I always thought that I had to work at a really big law firm to be able to work with really big clients. That was what I always thought. And prior to my current role, I was at a big law firm and I was working with big clients. And I thought that in order to continue doing that, I needed to stay there. But I made the switch to a boutique firm for various reasons. One of them being how I wanted to be compensated for the business that I was bringing in at a very early age, which is a very unique situation that a lot of big firms would have trouble navigating. And so those are one of the reasons why I switched over to a boutique firm. What ended up happening was really early on in that switch, I brought in a huge deal, talking about very close to being a 9-figure deal. And that was my unlawful moment, was that not only did I originate this incredibly large, complicated transaction by myself and the client, I originated that client, but that I didn't have to be at a large and a big law firm to do it. That this client trusted my ability to handle this deal for them, even at the boutique firm that I'm at. And it kind of opened my eyes to the fact that there's a lot of great lawyers out there, small firms, medium firms, big firms, and you don't have to be at a large firm to be able to do the kinds of deals that you want to do. And I think that the industry is also shifting more to that as well, where clients are becoming more aware of the fact that they don't have to hire the biggest firm in order to service their work.
It's interesting because there's a lot to unpack there. First, I think there's the point that you just made, which is if you have been able to build the relationships and demonstrate your capabilities, then sometimes the work is dependent on you instead of the brand above you. It's your personal brand rather than the firm brand that kind of drives that. I think that's an important lesson. I really appreciate it. And I think that there are so many lessons in your story. And what's crazy is, as you said, you're only 4 or 5 years in. I'm super excited to see what the next 4 or 5 years bring, much less the next entirety of your career.
Awesome.
I hope we stay in touch, and I look forward to seeing you continue to do great things.
I do too. It was awesome. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Absolutely. That's Unlawful.